Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today is do-it-yourself mini leaf lantern stained glass style. This is a really cute little lantern that I made. It's only like 10 inches tall, so it's really quite little, as you can see. Now, first of all, I had bought a metal lantern. It's a lantern or like one of those things that people put plants in, like maybe little air plants. You can get these little frames on Amazon, and I'll put the information in the description page. Anyways, I had covered the metal with copper foil like I do with lots of my metal projects, because that way the solder will actually solder to the metal itself, because it's some kind of alloy that solder doesn't solder to very easily. I then took 18 gauge wire, as I showed you, coiled it up into interesting shapes, and I'm putting these around like for the branches of my little leaf designs. So I just kind of wired them around the sides of the frames to get it as a start for my project. I will end up soldering these, but this way I have it like started, so it's easier to hold it in place while I'm working. I ended up actually taking one of the three sides off, as I'll show you later on, because I forgot that I needed to have some kind of door to open to put the lights in, because I always like to leave lights and these kind of things. So I'm using mini glass mosaic items. So the big one on the left, on the right, is about 1 inch long. That's your normal mosaic pieces that you can buy at various places. The other one is a lot thinner, and it's more like a little bigger than 1/2 inch. Now a normal mosaic is about 3 millimeters in thickness, and which is around 1/8 of an inch. But you can see that the mini is a lot smaller. It's more like 1 millimeter or like 1/16 of an inch. It's just a lot thinner. Now to foil these, I had to take my normal black backed, because I like my black backed foil, and cut it lengthwise in half so it's not as wide. So normal meaning I'm using 7/32 inch wide copper foil. So what I did was I cut that the long way, and then I had lots of long strips that were a lot thinner. Now I wanted to wrap around these leaves nicely so that they stay in place, but I didn't want to encroach upon the glass too much. So that's why I only wanted to overlap into the glass just a tad. But as you can see, they're very small pieces, very small little leaves. Now my leaves I'm using are going to be in the greens to amber and yellow color scheme, because I want it kind of leafy colored. So I just did a whole bunch of leaves that I bought as mosaic pieces that are pre-cut, so you don't have to go and cut them. And they're all, basically the same size and shape. So that's kind of fun to have them that way. It would be kind of difficult and time consuming to cut all these yourself by hand, because they are so small. Now, in order to do the side of my frame, in order to have leaves on those, I did go cut a bunch of them in half or in thirds so that I had smaller pieces that I ended up using later on. So of course I burnished them all so they're nice and smooth, and so the stickiness of the foil is as stuck down as possible, because that's about the only thing that's actually holding these in place besides the overlap of the solder. So it's really important to have them stuck down well. So I'm using some regular wire cutters right now. They're nice and sharp, and I could just pretty easily just cut these thin pieces of leaves into a smaller piece, and then I foiled those smaller pieces so that when I got into my soldering area, I would have a whole bunch to choose from. because like a lot of my work, I don't have this all laid out ahead of time. I kind of design as I go. So my design was I had a whole bunch of leaves. I had this wire frame all set up. I put a piece of silicone cut to the shape of the frame behind where I'm working, and then kind of like fill that space behind the silicone sheet with just some fabric just to kind of hold it in place. Because what I wanted to do was to be able to solder these leaves so that they would be at the same plane as the sides of the frame itself. So I needed some way to hold the leaves flat, but also I didn't want them to solder onto whatever I used to hold it. And I wanted a nice clean thing. So that's why I used the silicone. And this was just a scrap of silicone that I happened to have had from some other project. And the great thing with silicone is I can use this sheet again and again for any frame of this size because they last forever. They don't really fall apart. And I could then again cut it smaller for another project if I don't think I need this size anymore. So that's really cool. So I have a whole bunch of scraps. Whenever I cut my silicone, I always keep the scraps in case I need them for some other project, because you never know. So I decided I would put these little leaves as if they're climbing up this vine. And then I would also have some coming in from the side as if they're coming in from a different vine on the other side of that you can't see on the other side of the frame. So I wanted a whole bunch of little leaves like that. I put some flux on them and then solder them in place. As you can see, I'm using like light yellow, kind of a golden yellow, kind of a brownish rusty color, and a couple different colors of green. So I did have to buy like a variety pack that I found. And then at times I would buy all of one color, but sometimes it's difficult to find these thin pieces of glass, but I'm sure if you check around a lot, you can find them. And any materials that I use in this project, I will put them on the description page if they're available at Amazon, so that you can, look at what they have to offer. So you can see now that I have a bunch of leaves coming in from the sides and from the middle wire, the coiled wire going up the middle. Now, whenever you attach these, try to design them so that some of them can solder from one side to another. This will help enforce your the strength of your project. So like that leaf, I'm having it touch the next leaf in the middle. That's way I can solder those two together, and that'll help hold it all together. So that's kind of the reasoning behind where some of these leaves are. So as you can see, I have a whole pile of different size leaves in different colors. So this is really cool. So I don't have to worry about stopping and going and foiling some more. But actually, after I got like 3 panels done, I did have to go back and foil a whole bunch more. It's kind of hard to tell how many of something like this you will need for a project. It takes a lot more than you might think. So it's good to have a bunch done if you want to just be in your soldering studio for hours and not have to keep stopping. Of course, any that I have on my work table right there are going to get a little bit yucky with flux from above. So I don't want to spill out on my work surface more leaves than I actually think I'll use, because if I do, I'll have to clean them before I put them away for a while, because they will tend to get a little rusty and corroded over time. Now this right here is the door that I made. So the door, remember I said earlier that I had to take one of the three sides apart because I forgot to make a door. So this is the door, and I actually took the vine, the coiled vine that went up the middle. I took that off also, and I'm soldering that in place because I wanted to go from one thing to another. And here again, I'm putting a bunch of leaves. This actually was a lot easier to do than the sides, because being flat on the table, it was really easy to lay these out and have them stay where I want them to go. I didn't have to like support them with anything. So it's kind of fun. You can kind of just lay out what you want. If when you're putting the flux on, if you go the direction of where they're attached, then they won't move as you are holding them there. So, you know, kind of like make the flux with your paintbrush kind of go toward whatever is holding them sturdy, and that way they pretty much stay where you already did them. And then I tacked them in place, as you saw, and now I'm just going around all the edges. Now I'm not really sure at this point what color I was going to do this thing. I didn't know if I was going to leave it the silver color or patina it at this point. I'm kind of open to thoughts as I'm working on it, and kind of letting what it ends up looking like dictate what I decide I'm going to do. So again, one reason I really like buying these pre-cut leaves for a project like this is they're so cute, and they're all the same size and shape that, I don't know, I just really like the way they all look together as one unit, especially with this nice foil going around it, making them all symmetrical and even. And it's just a nice look for this particular project that I really liked. And I like having the spaces between the leaves. Like I didn't fill in the spaces with other pieces of glass or stones or anything. I just left it open. And for this particular project, I really like that look. And remember, if you put a leaf in and you don't like where it is, you can also just heat it up again where it's soldered, and then just move it. There's no rule against changing your mind. So yeah, if you heat it up too often or too long, have heat on it too long, it will start coming apart from its foil, and you might have to use a different leaf or refoil that piece. But it's pretty fun to work with. Now I'm using the Novacone liquid flux right now is what I bought. I still don't know if I like it as much as my gel flux, so I might go back to using my gel. I also am using a different solder, but I'm not too thrilled with it yet either, so I'm not going to you know, like try to talk people into trying it. My nib is also getting very old and distressed, so I am ordering a different one. I'm still not convinced what size nib I like best. I'm still not convinced what size solder I like best. So that's why I keep on going back and forth between using the thinner solder, the thicker solder. You know, I've been doing this for like 3 years now, but I still am open to trying new things, and not expecting the way I'm doing things to be the end of what I'm going to do forever. I'm still open to suggestions and trying new things. I mean, I did think this project came out really nice and clean and detailed, and I was very happy with it. And it's nice to add like those brownish, reddish leaves here and there, just to add a little bit of interest and variety. If I had the whole thing just yellows and greens, I don't think it would end up as much fun as it did. Right now, you can see that little loop I'm adding. I needed to have some kind of loops to attach the door to the side of my frame. So what I did was I put little loops in, and then I'm going to just attach them that way with like little jump rings. And that's my little door. Make sure it's going to fit nicely. Luckily, with something that's open like this that I haven't filled completely, it's really easy to find a place to put the handles and loops and stuff on it, because there's so many options. I don't have to like worry about adding a perfect loop or something on the side that's built into the glass itself. There's just so many open possibilities. So that's really wasn't a problem. I didn't have to like plan for that ahead of time. And here's my cute little lantern before I added the lights, and it's so cute. So I had all these lights, and I was like looking at the lights, and I opened them up and all that, and I wanted to see, you know, is this set of like 100 lights going to fit nicely in my project? So first of all, you have to unwind them all, and I always kind of undo the coils, because I want them to be kind of higgly-piggly on the inside of my projects. So I don't want them still coiled up perfectly, and I want to push them inside, make them fit inside my project, make sure that this is going to work. Now, as I was doing this, I was like, oh, you know, because I have so many open holes in this, you know, because I didn't fill the whole thing with glass, I'm like, I need to patina it so that it's the same color as the glass. So that's what I did, was I ended up patinaing it a copper color, and then I put the lights in, and it was so pretty. I'm really happy with this one. So thanks for watching. Have a good time. Bye-bye.